Hi guys, so today I guess this is a start from stash because I just put a bunch of scraps of paper in this little carrier envelope kind of thing, and I still have a whole basket of scraps and things like that, and I'm like, do I really need to hold on to these? Some of them are really small, but you never know when you need a little bit of green or a little bit, you know, this was a good size, of different colors. But then I was just sitting here thinking, what do I want to work on? Because honestly, I'm kind of stuck right now. I'm just debating with, I really want to play with felt. I'm just like, what do I want to do today? So I think I'm going to do like an iris card. So we're going to make our own aperture because I'm sure you have layering dies, right? We all do. And in my mind, I was like, well, how do you know that everything's like nice and level? I don't think it matters. Let's just go for it. What I'm going to do is start with a card base or a piece of cardstock that is like A2 size. And then, you know, trim it down. We'll go from there. I don't know. But let's do that. So if anything that I'm using is, you know, currently available, I don't know that I'm going to be using anything special. I'll go ahead and link that in the description box for you guys. Those would be affiliate links, which means I'll make a small commission for your purchase. I see those links. But other than that, we're going to get right to it. So A2, sorry, 5.5. See, this paper is that Michael's paper. Excuse me. So even though I already cut 5.5 off one side, it still has a little extra on the last bit. So anyway, let's start with that. Look at that. I already got polish on there. I like gel polish because then you always kind of scratch up things and get polish all over. I love that glitter. Like, this would be fun. I don't even know what colors I want to use, or just a mishmash of colors, or crazy colors, or should they all stay in like a family of colors? Like maybe that. See, this is a different texture, but that's okay. You know, we have the glitter, we have that. I feel like the glitters are really going to stand out, so I don't know if I'm going to keep that. Lime green would be cute. Look at this light blue. Okay, well, I guess maybe a certain color family if I'm going with that. And I'm just going to make this up, guys. So what I think is we'll start with a little glitter piece. I'm going to cut, ooh, I hope I don't regret this, a piece of this glitter. I'm going to line it up down here. That's not the greatest, but I'm going to use these lines to help me. And maybe start off with like a 1-inch square. Should we start with a 1-inch square? Okay, let's go 1 here. I'm just lining it up there. I don't know if this is going to work the way I want. Try to think. What am I doing? Square. Maybe we start 1.5. Just make it a little bit bigger. Just so that we don't have to do too much of this iris work. So let's say 1.5-inch square. I didn't even measure to see if that was even, actually, so that's not great. But let's go 1.5. 1.5. And I think we need strips. Hopefully this makes sense to you guys. So we're going to start off with a little square, and I'm going to offset it like this. And then we're going to have strips, but they need to lay over each other. I mean, that's kind of how you do this thing. So what I'm going to do is just cut strips that are, well, should we do 1/2 inch? Let's make 1/2 inch strips. So I have this blue paper, and I'm just going to go through, and you know what, this isn't the best one to use because the 1/2 inch is so hard to find on that. So just 1/2 inch strips of paper, and you're going to need at least 4 for each layer. So if we start here and we go like this, I'm going to need at least 4 of them. And some need to be longer than others so that this works, right? So I will be right back. I'm just going to cut a ton of 1/2 inch strips from these papers that I chose, and I'll be right back. Oh, and you have to straighten things out. Like this one, this piece wasn't really letting me cut. So just, you know, find yourself a nice straight area and then cut it off. That might not be the straightest, but there you go. So again, going back to 1/2 inch strips. I'll be back. So from these colors, I have kind of what is going to be my beginning point. And hopefully this works out. In my mind, it works out. So we'll see. So again, this is just my standard A2 size piece of cardstock. I'm going to put this in a diagonal kind of way, because if we do it just a square, I mean, it's fine. It's just not as fun, I don't think. So let's start with that there. And then as I lay these, I'm going to just kind of eyeball how far in I'm putting them. And then you can make them smaller. They don't have to be big pieces like this, but you know, they're already here. So I'm just going to go in a little bit. And my goodness, that was a real bad tongue tie. And I am eyeballing these things just for fun. I mean, why not? And you don't want to do too much, because what ends up happening is that you might have a lot of bulk, right? So don't do that. But maybe bring this in a little bit. And if you don't like eyeballing, I mean, you can definitely take a ruler and kind of line things out so you kind of know what you're doing as far as that. But I don't know. What I'm looking at here is to make sure these kind of match up and the center of this still looks good, you know, and that will be good. And I'm keeping an eye on how I'm doing this. I'm starting up here and going around, so that you do it the same way every time. That way it does have some semblance of something that, you know, you planned, even though we're just kind of going for it. Okay. Like all these extra bits, you could definitely cut them off, but it's not the easiest thing to do, so I'm not worried about it. Then I was going to go with this one next, I think. Which ones are longer? Yeah, sure. And then I'm going to start with this one and going like this. And then the next one, the next one, and the next one, okay? You could definitely not glue this one down and let this underneath, kind of more of a, what's the word? Like a patchwork. Like, yeah, you actually planned out, but I'm just going for it, guys. It'll still look cool. And so this one, I say just kind of repeat it the same way. So I'm just overlapping a little bit. You can put it around the edges of each other, but I think it looks cooler that it's overlapped. This is just something fun, and I don't know. So whenever I did quilting, that was like the paper piecing kind of quilting, which is so fun. You had a piece of paper and you would sew on the line, and you had a piece of fabric, and then you iron the fabric out, and then you do the next one, the next one. When you're done, when you rip the paper off, you have this really cool pattern. And I haven't done that in so long, but it's really fun. You know, stuff like that is good to do. I think it keeps your brain going. But again, I'm just gluing them down. If you don't want to, if you want to glue them down in a way that's more like lace, like this one goes under this one, but on top of that one, go for it. I'm just kind of popping these on, leaving roughly the same amount of paper showing, you know. I'm definitely eyeballing that. We're going to cut this excess off in a bit. Don't worry about that. And if you want it tighter, you can make thinner strips. You can start off with a smaller center. You know, I just made it this way so we can do it kind of quickly. This is a very bright blue. Now I have that texture on this side. We can go with the other one. I can cut some more glitter and bring the glitter back, and then the darker blue. Ooh, that's pretty. We'll see. I think by this time, this might end up on the outside. Like, you're not even going to see it anyway. This last bit. And also it depends on your aperture. So if our aperture is just like a oval here, you might, again, not see any of this other stuff. Anyway, I should probably put something down. Let me put something down. I was thinking about cutting a darker blue, because why not? And I went with the teal just because I was like, it feels kind of patchworky. So even though it's not blue, it's just fun. I mean, you can definitely mix and match all your colors, of course. Make it really lovely. This is kind of fun. I mean, I would have to make like, what, 1,000 of these cards to use up my scraps, but it's a good way to do something. I think it's fun. So there we go. There. I might use one more strip of, again, like maybe a darker blue. I mean, we can bring the glitter back in. So basically I have 1/2 inch strips that I'm overlapping to be like a third of an inch or so, right? What's showing. Bring that back. All right, let's do that. So I'm going to cut 4 1/2 inch strips of this. Okay, and I forget that this can cut on both sides. You can measure 1/2 inches. So right now I was like, oh, that's crooked, but I don't really want to cut anything off. And then I was like, oh, I can just measure it in the other direction. So that's what I did. It did go light to dark, so if that drives you nuts and you want to go with another dark color, you know, keep going that way, then do that. But for me, I don't mind getting to this. So again, whatever aperture I cut, it's going to have to be a pretty good size for you to see even this showing through, but we'll see. We will see. Oh, this is going to look so cool, especially when we cut this off. These pieces right here at the end are going to be cut off, so don't worry about how that looks right now. You guys, this is so fast too. I was like, oh, I have like 40 minutes before I pick up Miranda. What can I do? And then it's just popped into my head. Having those scraps sitting in front of me that I worked on earlier today. So, very cool. I'll hold that down. And then this one. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. I think that's gonna be it because, I mean, we need to have an aperture, but the aperture can't be that big because then it's just, I don't know. I think this will be fine. Okay, I'm gonna let that settle for just a minute before we come in and trim off the excess because of that wet glue. And actually, I do want to trim it down later. We can trim down some of these pieces so you can see what it looks like if you keep it this way. I am going to trim this down though because I like having matte layers, you know. So if I was to put this on a card topper, it is a complete 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and that would be fine. But I do want to trim this down just a little bit. You see, I want to keep that because what if I have a little piece of something, a center I can cut, you know? So I got rid of, you know, a little bit of something there. Let me see what card base I want to use. Actually, it's funny. I have that teal and we can bring that back, especially if I have a white topper. Okay, let me see if I have another piece of that teal cardstock because that one's been cut into so I can't make a whole card base from it. These are pieces of trash. Okay, I'll be right back. Well, that sits there. I think I am going to make the card base from this paper. It's pretty. And let's make it so it folds in a fun way. So 4 1/4 on the 8 1/2 inch side. And this happens to be Park Lane paper from when Joann's was around, and it's the right size. So I can just go to 5 1/2 and score it there and not have an issue with, you know, it being a little bit too long. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect fold. Perfect. And then I do want to top it with a white piece of cardstock. So we'll take that piece that I cut off from this other side here. And I like my 4 1/8, my 5 3/8. Oh, what am I doing? I was going to cut that in the wrong direction. 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Now I have kind of cursed myself a little bit because if I want this, I need to cut it down so this can sit on top of it, and I have to take off the smallest amount all around, right? And then right in the center. Otherwise, if I take an eighth inch off of here, it's going to be crooked. So I have to go around the whole thing and trim it right, and hopefully the glue is dry that we had on here. So yeah, this was 4 1/4. That means I have to take a 1/16 of an inch off of each edge. So, okay, so 4 1/4, so a 1/16 of an inch would be right here. And I was hoping that it would cut through nicely. Please do. Okay. We're going to put a topper on here, so it doesn't really matter. And 4 1/8 over here. So now this will be 4 1/8. And I might make it a smidge smaller. Okay. Not bad. I mean, that went through a ton of layers of paper, didn't it? Okay. And then in this direction, I'm going to do 5 3/8. So I'm going to take a 1/16 off of the bottom. If you don't want to do this, start off with your paper small. I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I'm sorry about that noise. It's very loud. 5 3/8 and just a little bit smaller just in case. I probably didn't need to hit it the way I was hitting it. Sorry, guys. That was loud. This looks pretty already. I mean, it's pretty cleaned up, but you see where I didn't make it perfect? That, and now I have another piece of paper for my scrap pile. And so basically we're going to have this here and this with an aperture cut out that's going to sit on top of that. And you can just glue it down or you can pop it up, you know, whatever you want. If I clean this up, that looks really pretty just the way it is. That is no problem. So I'm just going to stick this right down with the smallest teal background. And let's find ourselves an aperture. Now I'm thinking oval, but I mean square, well, whatever you want. Square might be weird. But I mean, I have all these Spellbinders ones, like these are pretty, right? That'd make a pretty one. Has some movement to it, something like this. Domes, postage edge. Ooh, we have this one that's pretty, but I feel like that kind of interferes with the shape that's going on there. Yeah, I was thinking oval. I know it's boring, but that's kind of what I had in mind. Let me see if this larger one would do, or if it's going to be not big enough or too big. That's pretty good, because I think you're going to see some of the glitter edge now. Let's see. This is here. That's there. Yeah, I think you see a little bit of that glitter. Okay, cool. I'm just going to put this down right dead center and put some tape and hope and pray that it doesn't move at all, because I want everything to be pretty exact here. And then, you know, whatever sentiment you like, you know, use colors that the recipient, you know, they love. They love pink, they love purple, they like orange, you know, whatever it is. Use your scraps for that, right? Pattern paper, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna run this through and I'll be right back. Okay guys, hope this is ready to go. Just debating if I was gonna stick this down flat or if I'm gonna pop it up at all. I got a little schmutz on there. And if I do this again, what I would do is actually make this a little bit bigger, because again, you know, it kind of, what's the word? I don't like when this bottom one competes with the top layer. And also this paper, I don't know where I got this. Is this Michael's paper? No, I feel like Michael's paper is thicker. I don't know where this paper came from. It's very thin. We can put it down just like this. I mean, you can put some acetate behind this, make it a shaker. I mean, there's lots of ways to play with that. You can pop it up. That always looks nice. I think I'm just going to glue it down. Ooh, run this through something to make... should we do that? To put some texture on it? Well, anyway, you could run that through an embossing folder. I think that would be fun. Now I feel like I need to do that. Okay, guess what? These Spellbinders embossing paper for the month, the embossing paper, the 3D embossing, I think this is the 3D one. It has like a patchwork look to it. I just don't want it to really mess with the size of my paper, you know. But okay, I'm gonna run that through. I'll be right back. Okay, and I ran it through, excuse me. So yeah, I ran it through my Grand Marquee. Very, very pretty. And hopefully that still works without, see, that's, oh yeah, well, that's not bad. I was gonna say, because it scrunches in your paper sometimes, and I'm already fearing like seeing the edges of this, but I think that is okay. And then from here, you know, ephemera, die cuts, stamps, you know, happy birthday, whatever it might be, right? Sympathy, I mean, this can go for anything. And especially depending on the colors used. Ooh, rainbow order. That would be so cute for like a kid card. Okay, I'm going to put this back on top again. Hold that down as much as it can. I can feel it, you know, it doesn't really touch because of the way we layered up the papers. But it's better than nothing. Okay, I'm going to clean up and I'll be back. Okay, guys, let's check this out with plenty of time to pick up my little girl. And it's so pretty because, again, it's the tent fold, very different. I mean, that's pretty cool. And then, you know, your sentiment can go here. You can put some flowers. I mean, it can be a background, right? It doesn't have to be the focal point. But a little ephemera, like I said, some die cuts. Let's get that little piece of glue off of there. Okay, I'll have to deal with that later. Wherever, you know, you want to put that. So hopefully that gave you an idea. You can start off with a smaller square down here in the center if you want more layers, and again, tighter, however it is that you want to do that. But that worked out really well. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. I will see you all at the next one. Bye now.